senator for Delaware. I'm going to stand where the senator stood because I bet he figured it out perfectly as to the best place to stand. Thank you, Senator. Nice to see you. You know, politicians in Delaware are just terrific. The governor of Delaware, John Carney, was my best friend in the House of Representatives, and he's doing a great job, another great Democrat. It's great to be back with you all this weekend. I missed last weekend. I missed the famous steak frying, which I felt bad about, but I had a very good excuse. My oldest daughter got married. I have 4 daughters, and so your first child gets married. Some of you have walked your daughter down the aisle like I did last weekend. It's an amazing experience, and it was a beautiful service. It was done in a cathedral, and an Episcopal reverend conducted this service, but we also had a priest and a rabbi. This isn't a joke, actually. A lot of people said, you know, you walk into a room. The joke actually comes from a priest and a reverend and a rabbi walk into a bar, and the bartender looks at them and says, "What is this, a joke?" But so it was a beautiful ceremony. It was an interfaith ceremony, and it was just a reminder to all of us who were there how it's not that hard for us to all get along. So it really was a blessing for us. It was a blessing for all of those in attendance. So after listening to the great Art Cullen, I've decided to change what I was going to comment on today, because I thought he made a terrific point. I've always said the person who wins Iowa will in fact win the presidency almost by definition. If you nominate someone who you believe can win the state of Iowa, almost by definition, that person's going to win the presidency. And Art Cullen talked about how fed up Iowans are with the corruption that we see every day in Washington. But there's another thing that they're fed up with that we should talk about, which is this trade war. Because I believe as a party, we can win the 2020 election on trade, because you know what it's doing to rural Iowa. Every acre of farmland in this state is worth less because of Trump's trade war. But it has broader implications. Several weeks ago, we watched as the Amazon burned. You all remember seeing those images on television. They call it the lungs of the world. But you may not realize that rural Iowa and the Amazon have something in common, and that is they are each victims of Trump's trade war. Because China is the largest buyer of soybeans in the world. They used to buy those soybeans from where? The United States of America. And Iowa was a main producer. But they're not doing that anymore. Why? Because we're in a pointless trade war without a strategy. So what are farmers in Brazil doing? They're burning forests to clear the land to grow soybeans to sell them to China. My point in telling you this story is we have to remember that everything is interconnected and we're all interdependent upon each other. And it's something that's very important for us to remember as Democrats, because even though we're in very dark times right now, we have a lawless and reckless president who is about to go through an impeachment inquiry, which has to happen, but make no mistake about it, it will terribly divide our country. We see literally millions of young people around the world go to the streets to protest against climate change. Why? Because the generation in power is not doing anything about it. We're leaving our kids debts they cannot repay. 40% of the American people can't afford their basic necessities, their housing, their food, their utilities. In many ways, these are very dark times. But on the other hand, the world gets better every single day. 50 years ago, 60% of the world lived in poverty. Today, that number is down to 10%. That's literally billions of human beings getting lifted out of poverty, and every year, the rate of extreme poverty goes down. The number of people around the world who live in hunger goes down. The number of children who are forced to do child labor goes down. Life expectancies are being extended. We have technological innovations that have fundamentally transformed our lives. So how do we live in a world where things seem so dark, yet at the same time things are so positive? The point here is that all of these things are interconnected and interrelated. And our next president needs to be someone who tells the American people the truth about these things. Because the senator talked about leadership. One of the most core foundational principles of leadership is telling the American people the truth. And if we tell the American people the truth, we will win. If we tell the American people that, yes, we do live in an interconnected and interdependent world, and the U.S. has to lead, they understand that, and we will win. If we do explain to the American people how many of our fellow citizens are suffering, truly suffering economically, and that those people need real solutions, not impossible promises, not fairy tale economics, but things that actually can get done, like doubling the earned income tax credit, which is the most successful anti-poverty program we have in this country. As president, I plan on doubling it, which will expand it to 14 million more people and give the average recipient another $1,500. That will actually make a difference in the lives of our citizens, and it can get done. We absolutely should have a universal healthcare system in this country, but we shouldn't take away people's choices. We should be investing in the next generation of innovation. We stand at the threshold of extraordinary breakthroughs in life sciences and energy research, but it won't happen without investments. These are the truths that need to be told. But the other truth that needs to be told is that Donald Trump is the symptom of a disease. And we not only have to beat him, which is the most important thing for us to do in 2020, and the way to beat him is to capture the center, capture those independent voters that we captured in 2018 and gave us the House of Representatives. But we also have to cure the disease, and the disease is divisiveness, where the American people are increasingly pitted against each other, where we have a president who tells the American people that their enemy is their fellow American. This has to change. We've had decades of inaction and incivility, and we need to get back to those roots that this country and the tree of liberty and freedom grew from in the sunlight of the cause we're fighting for, which is the fact that we're all in this together. And that, my friends, is why I'm running for president. I want to thank you for having me. Let's go get him in 2020. Thank you.